Hello everyone, I'm Joe Ackourey, and welcome to the Fly of the Week. For this episode, episode 9, I'll be tying everyone's favorite, the traditional Adams dry fly. Okay guys, here we go. The traditional Adams dry fly. Another great pattern to have in your arsenal. Place the hook in the vise, making sure that the shank of the hook is parallel with your tabletop. And let's get started. So, we need to determine where the wing is going to be set. And I use my thread as my indicator to find that sweet spot. So I'm going to wrap my thread to the center of the shank of the hook, like so. Flip off the excess. And then wrap back up about half of that. And right around there is my area where the wing is going to be set. That's pretty much the 3/4 of the shank mark. All right, so the first material is for the wing, and we'll be tying the wing in using the pattern calls for Grizzly hackle tips. And you can see how nice they are. They're all lined up and pretty small, and you get that from the base of the neck of your Grizzly hackle. You can see them there. So select 2 of them, and remember they have a natural curve to them. Each feather has a natural curve. You can see that curving down or up. When you bring these 2 hackles together, these hackle tips together, you want them to oppose each other. So make sure they're curving away from each other and line them up perfectly so they look like that. Now, we know where the sweet spot is for where we're going to set the wing. Now we have to measure the wing. So the length of the wing is going to equal the shank of the hook, including the eye. So I'm going to include the eye. Grab a hold of those wings. You see one's a little bit shorter. There we go. And once we have that length, we're going to pop that right in that spot. And I like to kick a wrap of thread in between my fingers and hold that wrap. And that's like a loose loop in between my fingers, and then gently pull down. That anchors that really nice, and then you can wrap back. Clip off your excess. And now we have to bring these wings up. And to hold them in place, we have to dam some thread up in front. So just a couple good wraps in there. And there they are. So they look like one wing now, but we're going to separate them into two wings. So right now my thread is behind the wings. I'm going to throw it to the front. We're going to use the old figure 8 method. The thread is in the front. We're going to throw it to the back. Repeat this process 2 or 3 times. One more time. Boom. Okay. Now, you need to secure those figure 8s with a wrap or 2 in the front and a wrap or 2 in the back. Very good. Some of these hackle fibers that were on the wings didn't cooperate. Get rid of them. Just clip them off as best you can. Try not to clip the black thread though. Sometimes that could be challenging. All right, our wings are in proportion with the hook. And now it's time for the tail. The next step is the tail. So get your thread to the back of the shank of the hook, like so. And the materials for this tail is hackle fibers from the brown hackle and hackle fibers from a Grizzly hackle. You're going to combine them. So let's pull down some fibers from the Grizzly hackle. Keep pulling down until they're perpendicular to the stem, like so. I like this alignment better on this side, so I'm going to grab just a little bit, maybe like a 1/4 inch worth, and pull the feather away, the hackle away, and gather them. There's your Grizzly part of the tail. Now we're going to repeat the same process for the brown. Draw your fibers until they're perpendicular to the stem of the hackle. I'm liking this group here. Grab a 1/4 inch of that. Tap them together. Line them up with the Grizzly. I'm a little short there. That's better. And just tap them together and let go. I'm still a little short, so I'm going to separate the Grizzly from the brown and just draw on the brown. There we go. There's our perfect alignment. So now we proportion the wings to the hook, you know, with the shank and the eye, the length of the shank plus the eye, and that's our height of our wing. We're going to do the same for our tail. We take our tail length, we measure the same parameters from the tail, I'm sorry, from the eye of the hook to the end of the thread. And then we switch hands and pop that right into position. And there's our tail. One or two hanging up there. We'll get rid of them. Here we go. So we got a nice tail. Ride that up to the excess of the wing. You want to join the excess of the wing with the tail material. Okay. Return your thread to the back end to prepare for the body. Now the body on this fly is made from Muskrat. Muskrat fur blend. And you want to get a little bit. Don't go too heavy with this. You just prepare it for your thread to dub it on. Just line it up so that it's nice and uniform and begin the process. Back and forth until you form a nice noodle, and then come back to yourself like so. You get a perfect noodle. There we go. Slide that in position. Now begin to build your body. Just gradually build it. Get that. There we go. And if you want to make it tapered, you just keep overlapping more and more. It'll make it thicker. You can see the nice taper we got going there. Now we don't want to get close to those, too close to those wings. We want to leave about 1/16 of an inch, which we have right there. So I have a little bit too much fur blend, so get rid of it. Just peel it off and secure the body with a couple wraps. There you have it. Very good. So now we got our wings, our tails, our body. It's looking good. Now for our hackles. Well, the tail called for brown and grizzly, and so do the hackles. So the legs for this fly are brown and grizzly. So I selected a brown and grizzly hackle. Now, I just didn't select any hackle from the neck. I selected a hackle whose fiber length is equal to 1.5 gaps. This is a size 12 hook. I'm going to have to proportion a hackle with that hook. So these hackle fibers, when I go to wrap it, you can see the length of the hackle fiber from the stem out should be right around 1.5 gaps, at the most 2 gaps. So let's prepare this hackle. There's a lot of like webbing in here, so I'm going to get rid of that. We don't want too much webbing on a dry fly, otherwise it'll sink the fly prematurely. So I was drawing down the fuzz to expose the stem, like I did there, for the brown hackle. Now I'm going to do the same for the grizz. Take your grizzly hackle, open that up, because there's a lot of webbing on the base of this hackle as well. And there you go. So now I have my brown and my grizzly hackle. And notice that they have a natural curve to them. You can see it mostly in the grizzly hackle because it's a much longer hackle. You want them curving down and over the fly when you attach them, not up and away. So you want to curve it down. So put the grizzly on top of the brown. Match up the stems and the fibers where the stems and fibers meet so that they become one. There we go. I'm going to attach that to the side of the hook shank. I don't want to wrap on the body. I want to wrap in that area behind the wing up to the body, and then I'm going to ride these stems all the way up just before the eye, and then you can cut this excess off. So the reason why I carried the stems all the way up is because when I'm wrapping the hackle forward, I'm going from the back, from the body up to just before the eye of the hook. I want a nice uniform foundation. If I cut them off behind the wing, you would notice that when I'm wrapping the hackle, and it would be kind of uneven. So that's the whole idea behind carrying these stems all the way up. So let's grab our first hackle, which is the grizzly, and begin wrapping. Let me just make sure my thread's in the spot because I'm going to capture that hackle. I'll show you my technique. So you're going to wrap 3 wraps in the back, equally spaced. 1 up against the body, 1 in between the body and the wing, and 1 up against the wing. Now, you're going to take the remainder of that, or I shouldn't say the remainder, but we're going to do the same thing for the in front of the wing. But this time I'm going to chase a hackle with my bobbin, with the thread from my bobbin, to lock that feather in and make it a much stronger fly. That's a technique my dad showed me many years ago. Clip off the excess Grizzly. There you go. I'm going to give it a couple more wraps. Now it's the brown hackle's turn. The brown hackles are used to fill in any gaps. The fly looks a little messy right now, but when I get done cleaning it up, you'll see a nice looking fly. So actually, before I start wrapping, I want to get my thread up against the wings again. So I'm going to repeat the process for capturing the hackle in the front for the brown one. I'm literally just finding areas that I see gaps in and filling in the gaps with the brown hackle. But now I'm going to chase it again. There we go. Tie your knot, or tie off the hackle to prepare for your knot. It looks ugly right now, but when I get done cleaning it up, so like a lot of these fibers, they get captured in the tie down process. Just clip them off. There's plenty to go around. And again, I'm going to clean this up a lot more yet, but I just want to get that rest of the hackles in alignment there. All right, now I'm going to tie my knot. Hopefully try not to catch too many fibers. And there you have it. Now, the cleanup process. Any fibers that do not cooperate are gone. Couple there. There's a couple there. Just makes the fly look a lot nicer. Draw up these fibers here. If they don't cooperate, get rid of them. It may take another minute or two to really get it the way you want it, the way you know I want it. Just a couple more. All right, it's ready for a drop of head cement. There you have it, fellas. It's a well-balanced fly, as you can see. Traditional Adams dry fly. Thank you for joining me in this episode, and looking forward to the next one. I'll see you then. Tight lines.